Yep, seagulls are hungry.
We're doing good?
Yep, feed them something.
We've kind of struggled with is, why us? We're believers, and we sometimes struggle with, why would God let something like this happen? And it's tough to swallow sometimes. And so at the end of the day, we just have to trust that, He's at work somewhere, and we may never know. Well, I'm Chris Wilson, and this is my wife, Alison. She's looking at the camera. Nice. We've been married for almost 9 years. So 8.5 years, it'd be 9 years in August. And so it was a year ago this week that Alison had a brainstem stroke, which that wasn't a term I was very familiar with prior to all this. I mean, stroke was foreign enough, but a brainstem stroke at that was unheard of. To sum it up, it's probably the worst kind of stroke somebody can have. It was on a Sunday night. We go to the emergency room, and because her symptoms weren't textbook stroke, and because at 31 years old and healthy, that's not something anybody would have ever expected, us included. But I did go in there saying, yeah, I think it's a stroke. And so at this point, she's still moving, she's still talking, albeit growing more and more a little strange. And so they were asking her things like, what is your name? What is the date? Who is the president? Some of those things she could answer, some not. They were asking her, can you move your legs and arms and stuff like that? And can you puff out your cheeks? Can you stick out your tongue? And I remember her not being able to do all of that, but we asked her if she could smile, and she just gave this big smile, just a beautiful smile. And I think I had told her that she was beautiful when she did that smile, and then she told me that I was great. And that's probably the most touching thing, looking back on it, is when she told me that, because, to be quite honest, I think that was the last thing that she verbally said to me. Just in terms of her progress, I mean, at the very beginning, there was hardly anything. But over the course of the year, she's got some pretty substantial movement in a few different areas. Her left leg and feet have really good motion and movement in them. And, with this thumb here and her wrist, she can move some stuff here. And her head control, has really come a long ways. And just recently, this past week, she started getting a little movement back in her right foot. And so, like I said before, we just kind of take it a day at a time and keep working on things, keep the limbs moving and keep things loosened up. And I can only imagine what's going to come in the future. Knowing how smart you are and the potential you have to do things and your age, you have your entire life ahead of you. And especially once we get you communicating again and plugged back in, sky's the limit. Seriously. I don't know what you have up your sleeves, but I have a feeling you may have something pretty exciting down the road. Rather than get worked up on the things that we don't have anymore, I mean, let's talk about what we do have and what things are still important in our lives and what we can really kind of focus on and enjoy. I mean, one of those things is that, you are still my wife. Sure, things are completely different, but your personality is exactly the same as it was before. I mean, you are the same girl that I married and fell in love with like almost 9 years ago, and you're still my best friend. And so those things, and that we can still relate on a personal and an emotional level, you know, and even just one thing that we have always loved to do and still love to do is just like sit in front of the TV and just lounge around in our PJs. Like we could do that any night of the week for the past 9 years, and that's still what we're doing. And that's still just those small things just on a day-to-day basis, you know, keep a bit of normalcy, you know, and those are things that we've always done and always will do. And so you know, those are the things that I'm thankful for and just really appreciate. And
What are you feeding them?
Ham sandwich.
I didn't know seagulls liked ham.
Give them a bread.
Mm.